that's obviously stuff that we should fight together. But when you just say that there is a white privilege out there in the ether and that by dint of birth your skin color generates for you an advantage, what you're really saying to people is that your view is less valuable because you have not experienced what I've experienced. And that is an identity argument, that's a character argument, that's not a rational political argument that can actually be taken on in any way. It's more of a cudgel and a club than it is an attempt to open a discussion.
Now, it's interesting, Mr. Shapiro, you talked about white privilege. And just this week, I had a conversation with Rachel Lazar, who's done some work, a Jewish American woman who's done some work on this area, as well as having extensive conversations with Dr. Greg Parks of Wake Forest University, who's also talked quite a bit about critical race theory. And it's my understanding that white privilege is not telling individuals that they cannot speak, but it is a term for societal privilege that individuals have as a benefit of their white skin. And I don't think that, and I think universities would be remiss to then say that because you're white, you're not allowed to say anything that's critical of white people. I didn't know that white privilege actually went into that sphere. My understanding is it's just, and the issue is that white privilege makes people uncomfortable to talk about the societal privilege that they have.
Well, to me, what I say on campuses all the time is if you want to cite instances of racism that we can all find and fight together, that's something that I'm more than willing to stand next to you and fight, because that's obviously stuff that we should fight together. But when you just say that there is a white privilege out there in the ether and that by dint of birth your skin color generates for you an advantage, what you're really saying to people is that your view is less valuable because you have not experienced what I've experienced. And that is an identity argument, that's a character argument, that's not a rational political argument that can actually be taken on in any way. It's more of a cudgel and a club than it is an attempt to open a discussion.
Today, I'm breaking down one of the tensest moments from a recent congressional hearing where Ben Shapiro, the conservative commentator, went head-to-head with a congresswoman over the hot-button topic of race theory and, more specifically, white privilege. This is Capital Insights 10, and trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. The setting, a packed hearing room, tension is thick. The congresswoman kicks things off by explaining her take on white privilege. In her words, it's a societal benefit, something you get just by having white skin. But, she's quick to add, it's not a tool to shut people up. She makes it clear, universities shouldn't restrict speech based on race, and acknowledging privilege is more about understanding context than silencing individuals. Then she puts Ben Shapiro on the spot, asking if he supports victims of racist incidents and where he actually stands on hate speech.
Well, I think it's a demonstrable evidence that through society's demographics that being white has societal privileges that being black does not. But
we can talk about how that manifests, because that's
I'm also interested in what you just said now, is that you would stand next to anyone who has this. So, Mr. Shapiro, my question to you is, for Ms. Dunston, the tying the noose around the campus and writing messages that target African-American young students, would you consider that hate speech, and then would you stand next to her and fight for her?
As I say, I would. This is the first I'm hearing about it, honestly. But
really,
yeah. But from hearing about it, maybe because it's local. I mean, I'm from LA. But in any case, I'm more than happy to stand alongside her and fight whatever group was responsible for this. Not only more than happy. I mean, you're talking about the alt-right. Again, I was the #1 target of anti-Semitic harassment from the alt-right last year. So I'm more than happy to do all that. And I think there's one more distinction that has to be made. When we talk about cases like Taylor's, they're horrific, and the administration is siding with Taylor. Okay, the administration is doing the right thing by Taylor, or trying to do the right thing by Taylor, as they should be. And I think that we need to make a distinction between cases where the administration is actively participating in the suppression of speech and cases in which the administration is trying to do the right thing in order to punish people for application of crime.
Shapiro isn't backing down. He admits, yeah, white privilege exists. But here's where it gets heated. He slams the way white privilege is often used, saying it's turned into a rhetorical sledgehammer to shut down debate. According to Shapiro, when someone brings up white privilege in an argument, it can come off like, your view doesn't count because of your skin color. He argues that's not logical, it's just identity politics. Shapiro then gets personal. He talks about facing anti-Semitic harassment from the alt-right. making it clear he's absolutely willing to stand up for victims of hate, no matter their background. He draws a sharp line between universities who suppress free speech and those who act to protect students from actual hate crimes, saying he's got no problem supporting the latter. The debate ramps up. Shapiro keeps coming back to unity, arguing that the only way forward is to tackle racism head-on, not by dividing people into groups or weaponizing privilege to shut others out of the conversation. He warns, using these terms to silence people only hurts the cause of free speech and honest discussion. The Congresswoman pushes back, pressing Shapiro on whether he'll truly support victims of hate speech, and he answers with a firm yes. Through all the back and forth, one thing is clear: this is more than just a policy debate. It's a battle over how we talk about race, privilege, and what it really means to be united. Now, I want to hear from you. Is white privilege being used to shut down conversation, or is it a necessary concept for building awareness in society? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more sharp, honest political debate, hit that subscribe button for Capital Insights 10. Thanks for watching.